Amidst the fog of war that continues to shroud the front lines, Russian troops once again experienced the lethality of Ukraine's unmanned aerial dominance. This time, drone operators from the 3rd Spartan Operational Brigade launched a series of precision strikes that destroyed Russian military vehicles, ammunition supplies, and personnel attempting to reinforce their positions on the battlefield. Their body-mounted surveillance cameras captured every detail of the chaotic terrain, the ruts of military vehicles, piles of equipment, and the hurried movements of a group of Russian troops unloading supplies. Aerial surveillance footage shows Russian troops attempting a routine logistical task, unloading vital supplies from transport vehicles in an open area. They appear confident that the location is secure enough from enemy observation. The target is clearly visible. Several logistics vehicles parked close together, with crates of ammunition freshly unloaded. The soldiers move quickly, seemingly unaware of their being watched from above. Without warning, the drone locks on to their target. However, this confidence only lasts a few seconds before it turns into complete chaos. From the aerial view, the Ukrainian reconnaissance drone, which has been monitoring the movement for some time, immediately transmits the target's precise coordinates to the attacking unit. As a group of Russian soldiers was busy unloading ammunition and combat gear, a precision strike was launched without warning. The first explosion struck directly in the center of the group, creating a powerful shockwave and deadly debris that swept across the surrounding area. Ammunition boxes were blown away, support vehicles were severely damaged, and personnel on site scattered in panic. The supply unloading effort turned into a zone of destruction in a matter of seconds. Not stopping there, the Spartan drones continued their attacks on the remaining Russian vehicles. Logistics vehicles and military transports previously used to transport supplies became the next targets. With pinpoint accuracy, strike after strike struck vital points, ensuring not only physical damage but also a major disruption to Russian supply lines in the sector. The destruction of these ammunition and combat gear significantly impacted the combat capability of Russian troops on the front lines. The loss of logistics not only meant a reduction in weapons, but also a decline in the morale of the units that depended on these supplies to hold their positions. This single strike demonstrated the effectiveness of modern drone operations: fast, accurate, and deadly. In a single strike, the Spartan Brigade managed to disable vehicles, destroy vital supplies, and inflict significant losses on the enemy forces. For the 3rd Spartan Operational Brigade, the operation was yet another demonstration of the effectiveness of modern drone-based warfare, where a single, well-planned strike can disable personnel, destroy equipment, and disrupt entire enemy operations. The day served as a bitter reminder for Russian troops. Even a simple activity like unloading supplies can now become a deadly trap, with the skies dominated by Ukraine's invisible eyes and weapons. At the same time, a pair of Russian field armies is stockpiling tanks and other vehicles for a planned offensive in the southeast. Ukrainian drones aim to spoil the attack. Dialing up the pressure on Russian forces in southeastern Ukraine, the Ukrainian 225th Assault Regiment is flying tiny explosive drones into buildings in search of Russian armored vehicles. The goal? To knock out the vehicles before the Russians can deploy them for a fresh push towards Zaporizhia city, 75 kilometers to the west of the disputed gray zone threading south from Dnipropetrovsk Oblast through Zaporizhia Oblast. The vehicles the Ukrainian drones operators are finding and destroying in their indoor shelters are some of the oldest and weirdest in Russia's 50-month wider war on Ukraine. Blasting awkwardly up-armored T-55 tanks from the 1950s, the Ukrainians are discovering just how poorly equipped some of the Russian regiments and brigades in the southeast actually are. That the Russian 5th and 36th Combined Arms Armies in Dnipropetrovsk and Zaporizhia oblasts ride in geriatric T-55s among other aged vehicles doesn't mean the CAAs, part of the Eastern Group of Forces, can't advance toward Zaporizhia. It does mean they may struggle, especially given the increasing density of Ukrainian drones and other defenses in the area. A recent montage of first-person view drone strikes, circulated by the 225th Assault Regiment, depicts regimental FPV pilots deftly maneuvering through narrow gaps between the walls and roofs of sheds, garages, and warehouses somewhere in the regiment's sector, which stretches between the Ukrainian base in Verkhnya Tursa and the Russian base in Zelin, 8 kilometers to the east. The logistical hub of Huliai-Pole, captured by the Russians back in December, lies a few kilometers to the south. In the montage, the drone operators find and strike at least 3 T-55s with add-on anti-drone armor. Not good add-on anti-drone armor, the likes of which you can see on the heavily up-armored T-72 Giga Turtle tanks belonging to the Russian 4th Motor Rifle Brigade, which fights around the Ukrainian stronghold of Kostyantinivka in eastern Ukraine's Donetsk Oblast. Where the T-72 Giga Turtles boast layers of blast-absorbing sheet metal buttressed by drone-blocking spines, at least one of the 35-ton, 4-person T-55s the 225th Assault Regiment blew up sported a layer of discarded ammunition canisters that almost certainly offer very little protection from an FPV drone. At the same time, especially one with a shaped charge warhead that can punch right through the outermost layer of armor on most vehicles. Lackluster equipment isn't the only thing holding back the 5th and 36th CAAs in southeastern Ukraine. In early February, Elon Musk's Starlink bricked thousands of stolen or smuggled satellite communications terminals that Russian forces relied on for frontline command and control. Ukrainian forces in the southeast took advantage of the ensuing chaos and counterattacked along a 30-kilometer front between Huliai-Pole in the south and Ternove in the north. In a heady 2 months, the Russians fell back, and Ukrainian troops liberated a couple of hundred square kilometers of Dnipropetrovsk and Zaporizhia oblasts. As they scrambled to restore their communications, the Russians also rushed a clutch of Marine brigades and other reinforcements to the area. Today, the Huliai-Pole direction remains one of the most challenging for the armed forces of Ukraine, Ukrainian drone operator and analyst Kriegsforscher reported. The Russians have deployed 3 naval infantry divisions, brigade strength, to this area, significantly enhancing the offensive capabilities of the Eastern Group of Forces. The situation will likely deteriorate in the future, including an increase in assaults with armor. The 225th Assault Regiment and adjacent Ukrainian units aren't just sitting around waiting for the coming Russian offensive. They're hunting down that Russian armor before it can roll into action. Armor that includes some very old, weirdly up-armored